Kelly, you told me we're going to kick off today with the lightning round. Oh, my God. Fantastic. I would have got a velvet coat, man, and a lava lamp. That was good, man. I like that. Some Swisher Sweets. That would have been good, dude. Way to go. Fantastic. All right, so lightning round. So for those of you who have never been with us on a lightning round, I have absolutely 100% no idea what they're about to ask. And so they're just going to bring the thunder, which is a terrible thing to say for the Sex and Intimacy Week. You were going to ask a lot of questions.
Yes, and these are all under the Sex and Intimacy category.
Awesome.
So buckle up, everybody.
let's go. Or unbuckle. Unbuckle. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
All right, the first one. What do you mean when you say that you have to practice desire?
Oh, man. We, as a culture, we worship at the altar of our feelings. And so we think that if I don't feel, quote unquote, in love, I don't feel, quote unquote, attracted, I don't feel whatever, that is the end all be all. That's the truth. And it's feelings are very, very important. They're important signals that you need to feel and ask yourself, what are they telling you? Same as if you're driving on the road and there's flashing neon signs in front of you while you're driving in traffic. You need to look at those signs. But that's not the destination. That's not where you're going, right? So when it comes to practicing desire, what I mean is desire over time is a choice. It is something not that is just like, it's not a whim. It's not just it's just the way that is. No, dude, practicing desire is important. And so I'm going to practice taking care of myself so that I'm my best. I'm going to practice meeting my partner's needs. I'm going to practice leaning in and having hard conversations or really sexy, intimate conversations, etc. So that's practicing desire. That's what I mean when I say that.
All right. You've mentioned before that some people can't have sex with dirty dishes in the sink. How do I find out what those things are for my spouse?
Ooh, ready? This is good. I went to a lot of grad school for this answer. Drum roll, please, America. You ask. Ta-da! Ta-da! I think if you are a couple on the same page, you're a couple that's like, hey, here's where we are with our sex life, and here's what we would like it to be. We want it to be less chores, less like I got a checklist, and more, let's see if we can get the wallpaper to peel itself off the wall, right? That's where we want to head. The conversation, often couples jump in and they start with, what sex act do you want to try? And that's fun. That's exciting. It's a blast. But I wouldn't recommend starting there most of the time. Most of the time, you back up and say, okay, what is a world where you feel the most sexy? If you go back to the last 2 or 3 times, 4 or 5 times when I've gotten home and you just want to get it on, what was going on in that world? And we want to begin to listen to our bodies as we move forward. So if you find yourself about to get it on and you're thinking about the dishes, call it out because we're practicing this thing together as we move forward. So call that out. Or, dude, I've just got to go make sure the downstairs basement's locked up. Oh, okay, weird. But go make sure it's locked up. Or maybe next time I'm going to make sure it's locked up before I head upstairs. So listen to your body over time.
Cool. All right. My spouse overshares about our relationship to his family and friends. How do I tell him to stop?
Again, man, you lucked out with a genius like me. Hang on to your hats, America. Tell him to stop. Ta-da. Number 1, tell him to stop. Number 2, here's how I would frame that. I don't feel safe when parts of my intimate private life are shared among other people. It makes me feel exposed and unsafe. Please don't make me feel unsafe. That is a language that is different than I don't want you to, or why do you, that's different. Get to the root of why you don't want someone to know. And it may be like you can get to the bottom of it and be like, I don't know, I'm just overreacting. I just think talking about sex is weird, and I guess it's not. That might be you. And it might be you feel so viscerally exposed. You feel uncomfortable. You feel whatever the thing is, speak there. Not just at the, I want my way, but at the, here's how you make me feel. I feel like that buzzer's like saying wrong answer. It's so good.
It is a bit harsh.
Wrong.
All right. So, if your partner initiates sex, but you don't want to at that moment, should you still do it?
Man, why you got to set me up like that? Um, Jeez, this one's a tricky one. So here's how I'll answer this in multiple ways. If you don't want to, because your partner hurt you, or you are being abused, or you know your partner, or assume your partner is cheating on you, it might be bringing somebody else's diseases into your bed or whatever. No, absolutely not. If you or somebody, man or woman, I don't care who, takes some time to warm up, or you're tired, you're not quote unquote feeling it right now, but you know over time, if you just like let it ride, you start getting into it, then you're never glad that you're never not glad that you went ahead and did it, right? So if that's you, then yes, then I need to know I'm really tired right now. I just want to go to bed. I am not gonna regret. In fact, I'm gonna really be happy with myself if we go ahead and do this. And I can tell my partner's really into it. So that's not is that a safe answer? I don't want to be safe answer, but that feels right.
Yes, because I think that's where the question's leaning. It's that, everybody's safe in the room and everything like that, but it's that, man, I'm so tired.
Mhm.
But then, like you said, but I'm always glad we do.
Exactly. Halfway through, I'm like, okay, this was
Yeah,
a much better
all
decision
right.
than watching The Office, right?
Right.
I think listen to your body and also be honest with yourself. Like if you know in 10 or 15 minutes you're gonna be glad you're into this, then go for it, man. And it goes back to that idea, like feelings are important signals, but they're not truth tellers. And yeah, I really want to just double click on the abuse thing, man. If you don't feel like it because you're not safe, because you just like your partner doesn't care about your needs at all, and it's all about him getting off or her, what if that's the case, not in that moment, but you need to have a conversation about a much harder, broader conversation.
All right, this one's a little longer, so bear with me. What do you mean when you tell partners that their spouse is not something to fix? When an individual in a relationship has baggage that they need to work through, how do you do this without coming at them from a fixing standpoint?
Um, the best example I can give you is last night. My wife and I went for a long walk, we've started doing the last year or so, and I just love it. We were going for a long walk, and she was walking me through some things she's been thinking through and working through. And I said, "Could I give you a word of caution?" And her response was, "No, thank you." And I had to exhale for a second and then move on with my day. And it was a bold moment of strength for her to say, "No, thank you." And I was trying to love her the best I could. But what she didn't need from me in that moment, evident by her telling me so, was my wisdom, my advice, my answers. What she needed was a safe place to tell what she's working through, what she's thinking about, what she's feeling, and what she's going to do next. And part of love often is letting somebody do their thing and to be with them when they're doing it, to be with them when it's super successful, and be with them when it falls in on itself. And so I think, go back to the original question there. Oh, about fixing. I think all of this can be solved with a very simple phrase: seek to be with, not over. When you start giving advice, the posture, everything about advice is, I know something you don't know. I'm in an elevated position from you. I can see what's happening and you can't. That is different than, I'll sit here with you. I know what I would do, but man, I don't have all the answers either, and I'm not you. And seek to be with. Husbands especially have a tendency, we just are loved by our utility. What can you do? You're a human doing, right? And so when people in our lives are hurting, we just want to go fix it, want to make it right, because that's how we achieve love. That's not how relationships work over time.
My partner wants to try something new in the bedroom, and I'm not comfortable with it. What should I do?
Say I'm not comfortable with it. I think there's again, this isn't every couple, and there's jerks and idiots everywhere. Often I think when couples get stuck on, like, I want to try this one sex move, I want to try this one position, I want to try this one thing. The instant response is, I'm not doing that. Sometimes that response is, I'm not doing that because I've never seen it. I don't even know, what are you talking about? That sounds weird. That sounds like it's going to be awful. It sounds, whatever you're feeling. So you're instantly trying to protect yourself, which is great. And your partner can often feel like, oh, there's a part of me that you don't love because I'm interested in this and you're not, right? So you get this weird tension. Often I've seen that diffused with like some laughter and some, okay, like, why do you want to do that? Like, what is it about that thing? And often there's some eroticism around talking about, well, it would feel good if, and I want to try this. And I think you are fill in the blank, like getting to the bottom of why you want to try that, what you're thinking about, what are some alternative things we could do, or I'll try this instead of it. That becomes an erotic conversation in and of itself, if you'll allow it. If it doesn't become this, like, fight, like, I want to do this and you never let, then you're just an idiot. But if you are really getting to the bottom of why do you want to try that, then I think you can get there and it's a lot more fun.
All right. On the flip side of that, how do you bring up something new that you want to try, but you're unsure if your partner will be comfortable with it?
So I didn't develop anything. So 2 years ago, I did a live event, and I said, "Hey, here's what everyone needs to do. It's going to cost like 15 cents. Go to Walgreens and buy like 10 or 15 just envelopes, empty envelopes, and I call it the John Delony erotic envelope system. And go buy 10 or 15 envelopes, get note cards, and you get 5 and she gets 5, or you get 7 and she gets 7, whatever, and just write down something you want to do." Whatever. Let the freak flag fly. Whatever. Like, I really want to try this. I want to try this. I want to try this. And my wife put it in one time. I just opened it up and here's like once a month, once a week, whatever. Just commit. We're gonna give it the old college try. We're gonna open this up and we are gonna figure this out. It may not work. It may be a disaster, but we're going to go into it with a spirit of exploration and fun and laughter and not a, and again, going back to, if you open it up and you're like, I don't know how this is physically possible. Like, what? Have that conversation. Make that a fun, like, how does this even, what are you talking about? Right? Have that conversation. My wife one time, she put on one French kissing. Oh, I felt like I got robbed. But it's just French kissing. She's like, we used to in college, we just French kissed. And I like that. And I miss it. So that was in the envelope. And that's what we did. And it was kind of awesome. We had just held hands and like made out. It was awesome. So anyway, all I have to say is put whatever you want in there. I just want to go hold your hand. On 30 minutes, I want to hold your hand. That's it. Put it in the envelope. Then what happens, kind of like Questions for Humans, it ends up being, I'm not the weird one. The card is the weird thing, right? So there's a little bit of deflection there where the card can take some of the what and let it roll. What I will tell you is this. If you have something you want to try or a couple of different sex acts that your partner's not doing and you want to get if you try over the course of 2 months, 5 months, 2 years, 10 years to hem-haw your way through it or to like kind of subtly or not so subtly encourage it, you're setting up, you're going to be disappointed. Your partner's is going to know they're not doing something right. They're not going to know what it is, and they're not going to know how to talk about it. You are setting yourself up on a track of dysfunction. Don't do that. Don't hold secrets. Just say, I want to try this thing. Hopefully, over time, you develop enough rapport with the person, I don't know, you're going to make humans with, that you buy a house with, that you can say, hey, I'm into this thing. I'm going to try it. Give it a shot. Give it a shot. That's all.
And also, don't bully.
Oh, for sure. Tell me more about that.
Well, just don't bully your partner into, well, I want to, and you don't. And I don't get what I want. Or,
no,
if you loved me.
Stupid and cowardly and lame. Yeah. Yes, don't be like that. Absolutely. 100%.
Just don't be like that anywhere.
Anywhere in life. Like, or passive aggressive, like, I guess you just don't love me. Don't be like that. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. I hate passive aggressiveness. Anyhow, my spouse and I don't share any of the same hobbies, so we don't spend any free time together. How can we find something that we both enjoy doing?
That was what a great question. And I'm laughing because whoever wrote the question has bifurcated themselves they've backed themselves into a corner and they've thrown their hands up and they're like, well, we don't like any of the same things, and so now we don't get to spend time together. I would flip that around and say, we're going to spend time together, and with the time we have left, we're going to spend on our hobbies, right? Or maybe one day I do hobbies, one day we spend time doing things together. And I think you figure out things that you like to do together over time. For me and my wife, often it's reading a book next to each other. That's it. Because I don't like her books. She doesn't like my books. We don't listen to the same podcast. We don't listen to, like, we have very different, like, I play guitar. She likes to garden. We have very different things that we do. And so we have worked over time to find those things where we can spend time together. And we have to be really intentional about it. And by the way, you just figure it out over time. And so it's something you practice. Like, man, I've been trying to, she watched fights with me for years. She tried. Eventually, she's like, all those guys are super ripped. They look great, but I want to go to bed. And so I get it. And there's other things I've tried, like, I'll try. I just can't. So you give it a shot. You give it a shot and you practice and you try it and then you move on. I'm going to say this. I think we make every encounter the Super Bowl. Every time we have sex, it's the Super Bowl. It has to be mind-blowing. Both people have to have an orgasm. Everything has to be just like this. And if it doesn't, we start immediately going, okay, what's wrong? What didn't happen, right? Dude, if you spend most of your life, like most of life is a scrimmage, we're just practicing and figuring out, it's so much more fun. You drop the ball in a scrimmage, and your friends laugh at you. Your teammates are like, idiot. It's not end of time. It's not like in front of 90,000 people or whatever. So I think taking the pressure off of you and your spouse and your friends on all things in your life, man. We're just fumbling through this thing.
That leads really nicely into this next question.
Oh, look how cute that is.
To you. My fiance and I are about to get married, and we've saved ourselves for marriage. How do we not put so much pressure on one night?
I think it's insane to not put pressure on that night. It's gonna be there. Like, you know what I mean? To try to depressurize that situation is I wouldn't waste that energy. The energy I would expend would be talking about it super directly. And that might be weird. If you are waiting until you get married to enter into a sexual relationship, you may not have spent a lot of time talking about it. And here's what it's going to be like. And my friend told me it was like this. Talk to people in your life that you trust who are down the road from you, right? Talk to other couples, not maybe not other couples, but individuals. Have that conversation with each other so there's some understanding of what this thing might look like. And by the way, it will be totally different than you think. And so I would head into it that way. And with the goal being connectivity and closeness, not performance across the board. Is that fair?
It is, but can I add something?
You can add of all things.
For the actual wedding night itself, you're exhausted.
Oh, you're so tired.
Keep that in mind. That you're exhausted
Yes.
because you've been planning this wedding and this thing, and it's huge, and it's a full day of family. It's just it's a lot of a day. It's an exhausting day.
You probably, when you're married, you probably wouldn't do it on that day any other time throughout your history.
Oh, never. No, because
right?
you'd be like, I'm so tired.
I've been around people all day long. Like, I just want to go to bed. Yeah, so you probably wouldn't. So that's what I mean. Like, you put so much pressure, like, it's going to be there. Because after the wedding, after all this stuff, all the people, all those little yellow mints, everything, all the dancing, then you're like on the ride home to the hotel, you're like, I guess this is happening. Like a whole other.
And I've had some friends of mine that have made agreements beforehand of, you know what, we're going to be so tired. In the wedding, we're not even going to get out of there until midnight. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen that night.
Let's party tomorrow.
Just call that, and then.
But that goes about talking about it.
Exactly.
Right? That goes about like talking about it. And I think it's like, how do you, we talk about pictures and words on the show. How do you picture me taking off your clothes? Do you picture you taking them off? Like, how do you, like, let's have that conversation. And that way you don't end up having, I'm saying that and I'm watching these like hearts fly around my head through the monitor here. It's so surreal. But like, I think the more conversation you can have, the more you can set each other's expectation and you can match your pictures and words. Because again, and I was just doing an interview before the show, we're in the first generation raised entirely on pornography, right? And so somebody's going to walk into that room with an expectation of something that's not real, right? And then somebody may not be connected to pornography at all. Or somebody may have been like, I don't know what I'm doing. And they went down a pornography rabbit hole. So I think setting expectations intentionally is good. And by the way, talking about sex can be one of the most intimate, fun, hilarious, sexy things you can do if you can develop the ability to have that conversation between yourselves.
All right, last one. The things that turned my spouse on and the things that turned me on are completely different. How do we find common ground?
I think sometimes you participate in somebody else's fantasy. I think you, and I use fantasy broad. I guess if you want to dress up like pirates. But I'm saying more like I've just working with couples. Like one like really gets in the mood from like holding hands and touching, and it's quiet. And then somebody else like wants somebody to take charge, and somebody else wants somebody to just feel like it. So I think it's A, saying those needs out loud, and B, tonight I really want to have boring married sex. I want to have just regular boring married sex. Tonight, I really want to have some sort of storyline. I want to have some sort of thing that's out there that I've conjured up in my head that I want to like participate with you. Like, so I think it's a matter of there's some give and take there. And then if there's some things, again, going back to the original question, if we just feel uncomfortable, I think you need to say out loud, like, these things are making me uncomfortable. Okay, so that's it. All right.
That was the last one. You did a very nice job.
Wraps up the lightning round.